Hey everyone, I am here now to talk to you about Romeo and Juliet, Act 3, Scene 2. So at the beginning of Act 3, Scene 2, Juliet is in her room and she's very upset and she's like, oh, I wish it was nighttime. And of course, we know she and Romeo have just gotten married, and so she is hoping for her wedding night. And she can't wait till Romeo comes, and so they can have their wedding night together. The nurse shows up, and of course, the nurse is very distraught because she knows what has happened in the town, and she knows that Tybalt, who is a beloved family member, has been killed. And so she comes into the room saying, he's dead, and she's crying. And of course, Juliet thinks the nurse is talking about Romeo because that is the only thing that Juliet is thinking of, and so that's what's in her mind. And so she just assumes anybody would be talking about him, and she's like, what? Oh no. And then the nurse says Tybalt, and Juliet was like, oh, Tybalt, not Romeo. And so at first she's relieved, but then of course the nurse goes on to tell her that it was Romeo who killed Tybalt. And then Juliet is very distraught, and we had that quote about Romeo seeming like a snake, but he's beautiful on the outside. And so this idea of him sort of seeming very, very beautiful and good and wonderful, but on the inside being evil and wicked. And so at first, when she first hears about Romeo having killed Tybalt, she's very upset and angry and sort of lashes out against Romeo. But almost immediately, as soon as the nurse says something bad about Romeo, almost immediately she changes her tune, and she was like, no, you shouldn't say anything bad about him. I'm sure he had a reason for it, right? And so she starts to sort of justify it. And so, she's already sort of loyal to Romeo as her husband, even though they've only been married for a few hours. And so that's the situation for her there. And then by the end of the scene, some people were confused and still thought she was most upset about Tybalt, but actually in the end she's most upset about Romeo because she knows what this means for him. The fact that he killed Tybalt means that he could be put to death or he could be exiled, and so she is upset about that, and upset that she might not be able to have her wedding night and she might never see her husband again, right? So again, she just got married and already she could be separated from her husband. And so she says she wishes she was married to her grave. This idea that she wants to die now because she might be separated from Romeo. And so that is Act 3, Scene 2.